Between 1977 and 1990, Peter Lynch made average annual returns of 29.2%. And here's the result of investing $1 in his fund versus the S&P 500. We'll start by briefly reviewing his valuation philosophy for a minute before analyzing his best tool for finding excellent investments, which is his fair value formula. In part 3, we'll look at how to use his formula with a stock example, and in the final part, we'll look at its strengths and weaknesses. Most investors underestimate the importance of Peter Lynch's most effective tool, which is his fair value formula. This approach helps investors quickly assess if a stock is cheap, fairly priced, or expensive based on its earnings growth, dividends, and valuation multiples. His method asks a very practical question. Are you paying a reasonable price for the growth and income this business can deliver? I studied his interviews and his book, One Up on Wall Street, to find accurate information. Instead of forecasting cash flows or estimating discount rates, he preferred simple comparisons that tied price directly to business performance. His core belief was straightforward. A stock is reasonably valued when its price-to-earnings ratio roughly matches its earnings growth rate. If a company is growing earnings at 15% per year, a price-to-earnings ratio of around 15 makes sense. If that same company trades at a price-to-earnings ratio of 8, it may be undervalued. If it trades at a price-to-earnings of 30, it may be overpriced unless growth accelerates dramatically. This simple relationship is the foundation of the price-to-earnings growth ratio, and by extension, the fair value formula. A common way to express his framework is as follows. The fair value ratio equals the expected earnings per share growth rate plus the dividend yield, which is then divided by the price-to-earnings ratio. Each component reflects a different part of shareholder returns. Firstly, the expected earnings per share growth rate represents how fast the business is expanding its earnings. Next, dividend yield captures the portion of returns paid out directly to shareholders. And lastly, price-to-earnings ratio reflects how much investors are currently paying for each dollar of earnings. Lynch mentioned in the book that past growth doesn't guarantee future results. Therefore, earnings per share growth must be estimated by looking at the following 3 to 5 years. The dividend yield and price-to-earnings ratio are easy to find. However, the earnings per share growth rate is the only subjective input and must be estimated based on business quality, competitive position, and long-term prospects. Lynch believed a stock is more likely to be at a fair value when the price-to-earnings ratio roughly matches the sum of its earnings growth and dividend yield. Unlike discounted cash flow models, this approach does not produce a precise target price. Instead, it creates a relative value signal. Here's how Lynch interprets the results. Below 1 means it's likely overvalued. Around 1.5 indicates it's reasonably valued, and above 2 suggests it's more likely to be undervalued. For example, if a business is expected to grow earnings at 12% annually and pays a 3% dividend, then the combined return expectation is 15%. Therefore, at a price-to-earnings ratio of 20, the ratio is 0.75, suggesting overvaluation. But at a price-to-earnings ratio of 10, a ratio of 1.5 suggests fair value. This approach allows investors to quickly check whether a stock's price aligns with its fundamentals. Lynch's approach is closely related to the price-earnings growth ratio, which compares a stock's price-to-earnings ratio to its earnings growth rate. If the price-earnings growth ratio equals 1, it means it's at fair value. Above 1 means it's overvalued, and below 1 means it's undervalued. However, Lynch recognized a key limitation, which is that it ignores dividends. Mature, high-quality businesses often return a meaningful portion of profits to shareholders, and ignoring that income understates their attractiveness. To address this, Lynch's framework extends the price-earnings growth ratio to the PEGY ratio, which incorporates dividend yield. It is basically the inverse of Lynch's fair value formula, as you can see here. It's the price-to-earnings ratio divided by earnings per share growth divided by the dividend yield. Essentially, both expressions convey the same idea from opposite directions, in that price should be justified by growth and income. If you're learning something new, please consider clicking the like button so you don't miss out on more videos like this. Estimating growth is the most challenging part of this method. For non-financial companies, growth is often measured using a 5-year EBITDA compound annual growth rate because EBITDA reduces distortions from capital structure, taxes, and accounting policies. For banks and financial institutions, book value per share growth is more appropriate, as it better reflects value creation for these types of companies. Lynch generally viewed growth rates between 10% and 20% as ideal. Growth above 25% was often capped at 25% in calculations to avoid unrealistic optimism. It's important to note that he believed the method was unreliable for companies growing at less than 5%, where valuation depends more on dividends and balance sheet strength than on growth. Next, let's look at Microsoft for the year-end 2025 as an example to help us understand, step by step, how to use the formula. First, we can find the price-to-earnings ratio, which is 27.03. Next, the trailing 12-month earnings per share is between 15.6 to 16.3%, according to analysts. So, we'll take the average, which is 16%. And finally, the dividend yield was 0.85%. As you can see from the formula, the result is 0.62, which is under 1 and therefore seen as being overvalued. Next, we'll look at the strengths and weaknesses of using the Peter Lynch fair value tool. The primary advantage of this approach is speed, as it allows investors to quickly assess whether a stock's valuation aligns with its growth and income profile. It focuses on growth and value. By combining the earnings per share growth rate, dividend yield, and price-to-earnings ratio, it accounts for both growth and value, as well as dividends. As a result, it's a valuable tool for analyzing growth stocks, as traditional valuation tools often don't accurately reflect their future potential. Secondly, it reinforces disciplined thinking. Rather than paying any price for growth, the framework forces investors to ask whether expectations embedded in the price are realistic. But most importantly, it reflects Peter Lynch's broader philosophy, which is that valuation should be intuitive and grounded in business reality, and not abstract math. The simplicity of the method is also its weakness. Growth estimates are inherently uncertain, and minor errors can dramatically distort results. Also, the framework assumes relatively stable, linear growth, which rarely exists in competitive markets. Secondly, it ignores the growth sustainability. As a result, it becomes challenging to determine how long the growth rate will last, and it can potentially overvalue stocks with an unsustainable short-term spike in earnings. It's not so useful for low-growth stocks. If growth is below 5%, then it is not suitable for mature, slow-growth companies, as the formula requires a high growth rate to justify the price-to-earnings ratio. As a result, it can make stable but slow-growing stocks seem overvalued. It ignores balance sheet strength, cash flow quality, gearing, capital intensity, and competitive advantages. Additionally, it does not account for the time value of money or long-term reinvestments, as a discounted cash flow model does. And lastly, it cannot be applied to companies with negative earnings or no dividends. However, Peter Lynch is aware of these limitations and emphasized that this method was a starting point for his analysis, not a substitute for deeper analysis. His fair value tool is best used as a filter, along with further analysis. Here are some key tips I've summarized to help you apply his fair value formula. Firstly, it's quite obvious, but don't overestimate growth. Lynch cautions against a high price-to-earnings ratio when hoping a company will expand quickly based on the latest trends. Next, focus on the underlying story. Getting to know the company's background story and mission properly will help you estimate growth potential more accurately. And lastly, think about cyclicality. Cyclical stocks will be less consistent with growth, so you should look at an extended time period of data to find an average of a typical business cycle for future growth estimates. When multiple valuation methods point in the same direction, your confidence increases. However, be aware of your risk tolerance and objectives when applying any technique or formula to see how it fits into your overall strategy. I'll continue using Peter Lynch's formula and other valuation techniques when investing in stocks as additional filters. But beware. It's not a magic formula that will guarantee results, and you must do your own research. As it can be challenging for newer investors, feel free to leave a comment if you have any questions, and I'll be sure to reply. If you learned something, please consider liking the video and subscribing so you don't miss out on more videos like this. You'll definitely find this video useful to watch next. Thanks for watching.